says it's preparing to live stream the meeting, and this is usually on there, so I'll go ahead and get started. My name's Mandy, and I am with COVID Recovery Iowa, and I don't see us on Facebook yet, but I'm just going to assume we're there. And today I have with me Talia from United Action for Youth. Did I get that right? And then COVID Recovery Iowa, just to give you a little bit of background, is a free counseling support service for all Iowans who've been impacted by the pandemic and the derecho. And you can reach out to us at covidrecoveryiowa.org to get connected to a counselor for that emotional support for all Iowans who've been impacted by the pandemic and the derecho. I think I hear a terrible echo. So I'm just going to close my Facebook and assume we're on there because acting weird. But so emotional support that is often needed after a disaster or during a disaster as the pandemic continues on, and then connection to resources. And so that's why I have Talia with me today from United Action for Youth, mainly out of the Iowa City area, but you also, what counties do you cover?
We serve some surrounding counties. We have some services in Cedar. We'll serve some people in Lynn County. It depends on which programs. It's very complicated on who, but for our counseling programs, our social emotional support, we can serve anybody who wants services, who can get here or can Zoom here.
Okay. So tell us a little bit more about all the different services. And we brought you on because I know you do a lot with teens, and our group of parents that we have in the Parenting in the Pandemic group have expressed an interest in teen support and teen services. So if you wouldn't mind going through some of the services that you offer that age group.
Yeah, hi, I'm Talia. I'm the Director of Intervention Programs here at United Action for Youth. We just celebrated our 50th anniversary here, which we were really excited about last year. So we have a variety of services and we like to break them down into our prevention and intervention services. On the prevention side is our youth center. We have drop-in programming where youth after school can just go hang out. We have positive adults around and focus on positive youth development services, relationship building. Down at the youth center, we offer art classes. We have a hangout area where there's couches and a television and music. We have a recording studio, and we just allow kids to hang out and do what they'd like. And then we have out of school programming after school. We offer art clubs for young people. And we also have a health educator who provides comprehensive sex education. And then on our intervention side, we have our counseling programs. We have our traditional billable therapy program. We have a social emotional support program that provides mediation and case management and advocacy to families and victims of crime. And then upstairs, I say upstairs because we're downstairs and upstairs here, we have our transitional living program, which is housing support and case management for homeless young people. Our young parent program that provides parenting support and strategies and resource connection and case management for young parents. And I think that's it. So we do a lot here, not to say that's it, but we do all things. We like to say we're a one-stop shop for all things youth and families. And if we can't provide the service here, we will connect you to someone who can. So that is the rundown of what we do here at UAY.
So I'm thinking about your after school, kind of, it makes me think of something like a teen town, or I don't know, I'm thinking back to my youth. But how does a teen get connected to that? Is it open to anyone? And how did the pandemic impact all of that programming?
Yeah, for the youth center, it's just drop-in programming so any youth can stop in anytime and get involved. And of course, we do an intake and track some information about who they are and who their parent is and stuff, but they can come and hang out anytime they want. There are no restrictions outside of age limitations. So young people, the summer after their 6th grade year, all the way up through the summer after their senior year can hang out at the youth center. During the pandemic, we shut down immediately and then also pivoted immediately. So all of our programming agency-wide went to Zoom. So for our art workshops, what that meant is our arts coordinator, Lauren, planned all of her art workshops like she normally would, but then we assembled art kits. And so any youth or family who signed up and wanted to participate, we'd assemble an art kit and then go drop it off at their house so that the barrier of supplies wasn't an issue for young people. Kylie taught music lessons over Zoom, guitar, if you can imagine that. He figured out how to make that happen. And then we still also hosted our support group. So we have a group to support young women and then an LGBTQ plus group. And those also still were functioning all through the pandemic. Same for our counseling programs. We immediately, did all the policy and procedure to go online and kept everything on the up and up, and then just transferred all of our clients to that. Same with the young parent program. The transitional living program was still fully functional. They were our frontline staff during the pandemic. But yeah, so like everybody else, everything went to Zoom, and it was really fun and creative to see different ways to engage young people and their families during the pandemic.
I hear you about having to be creative on how to make those connections. It was a challenge, but sometimes a fun challenge too. Did you have what about devices and Wi-Fi issues? Did you have any of that with the people that you serve?
Yes, especially our lower SES families and young people. So we actually worked really closely with our school district. We rely really a lot on each other. And they started making referrals for what we were calling barrier and resource assessments. So for young people who weren't showing up to school or weren't participating in any of our activities, they would refer to us.
Right.
And then we would help to figure out what was going on. And so if it was an internet issue, we got Wi-Fi hotspots from the school district or helped them get hooked up with the Mid-American program that the district was sponsoring, or got their laptop fixed or whatever that was. So we were sort of a bridge to help get those resources in place. And it didn't always work, unfortunately. I think this pandemic has also shown us that the infrastructure we have to support online learning and technology and all that stuff is pretty divided for some of our youth and families. So we did our best, though.
Yeah, but that's a great setup for schools to be able to rely on you and connect with you in that way. I think there's a lot of communities out there that didn't have that kind of triage system, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
But there's also, I realize, well, you didn't exactly say this, but I'm just thinking the hotspot and the Wi-Fi and the device isn't always the reason somebody doesn't engage too. So people are still falling through the cracks, I'm sure. But I think that's an awesome effort. And I think that would be a benefit for a lot of communities to have a system like that.
Definitely.
So, okay, did you have the same kind of schedule when you did everything over Zoom? Did you kind of keep that after school concept, or did you have things during the day? Because I know how virtual learning, sometimes they're hybrid and the day varies. It's not exactly that 8 to 3 or whatever.
Yeah, well, for our counseling appointments and some of our other, like our transitional living program, there was a little more flexibility there because of the hybrid learning where kids could say, well, I don't actually have school on this day, so I could come. So we had a little more flexibility there. But in terms of our art programming, we really tried to keep that the same because we know how hard it was to get kids to stay engaged with online learning. And so the last thing we wanted to do is be like, or you could be coming to this art club. So we kept that still in the after school hours so that we weren't competing with the very important academic attendance that young people were struggling with.
That's good. So how about this? Just because I'm an art therapist and it interests me. So you gave them the supplies and they created art together, maybe over Zoom, it sounds like. And then did you have a way to display that art or?
I'm trying to think. We just did an art show for a young person. And then actually I think it was in June or July, it was June because it was Pride Month. We did a huge mural. It was the first and only in-person event we did all summer because cases were down on the outside window of our youth center. And it was a collaboration between Black Lives Matter art and Pride art. And all these young people came and painted this beautiful flag with the fists up on the window. So that was a really fun way to display to our community, like, hey, we're still out here, we're still doing this work. And it was really fun to get to actually see young people in person.
So we know that social interactions like that for youth is so important, especially preteens and teens. So how are you seeing, we were talking about this a little bit, but what kind of impact do you think the pandemic has had on kids?
Yeah, I think as we were talking about earlier, all of us who have kiddos were like, we're in a pandemic, do whatever you can to get your social needs met. things are different. There's no blueprint, there's no roadmap. And so we allowed a lot more maybe screen time or internet access and that kind of thing, which is fine. And now as we are re-entering the real world, I see sort of a little bit of a power struggle between parents and young people as they try and maybe dial back their screen time access, their internet access. I think there's a lot of anxiety about re-entering. I mean, I know as an adult, I feel it, and probably all of you who are parents and re-entering, what is more normal in our communities. There's some anxiety regarding COVID and socializing, and our social muscles aren't worked, our academic muscles aren't worked. And maybe there's a lot of fatigue and nervousness. And I think our students are feeling that too. But I think for young people, their anxiety usually manifests in irritability or, oh God, leave me alone. And so just to remember, as we re-enter, as expectations shift back to what once was, maybe in a different way, that irritability, change in appetite, change in sleep schedule, change in friends, to keep an eye on all those things for your young people, because those can be signs of distress for them. We as adults have the language or are more in touch with maybe our emotional lives and emotional selves, but young people are still trying to figure that all out. So I think that's something we're seeing for sure. I would encourage all parents out there to get, if you're not already, really comfortable in talking to your young people about sex and safe sex and issues related to consent, because I think there was a lot of that happening online as well during the pandemic for some of our older, 7th, 8th on up young people, and to realize how that might have shaped the landscape of their pandemic experience as well as we re-enter and start to explore what life is going to look like now.
I'm thinking there might be a lot of parents that did not consider that sexual interactions over when they're not in person. So
Yeah.
important to think about. And I love the idea of flexing your social muscles. I've never thought of that in that way before, but we do a lot of work on helping kids build their social skills, social skill development. And if you take out a chunk of time where they don't get the opportunity to work on that, you can bet that they're not going to be fantastic at it when they get back in person. And yeah, that they're just haven't had practice. And there might be some anxiety about it too, especially if they are a relatively anxious person just by nature. So this easing back will be important. And I think we'll have to have not just conversations about sex, but conversations about a lot of things. Be open to having those conversations with our youth so that they can feel comfortable and transition back into whatever life is going to look like here as we get vaccinated and all that. So what else? What you have some special events going on this month or?
Yeah, we have our annual fundraiser. It's our biggest fundraiser of the year. This year it's called Bloom Together. So the idea is bloom together, but still separately, right? We aren't having our in-person event because COVID is still very much a part of our lives. And so we have a number of virtual events going. You can access that. I'll have you post the website maybe after this chat, www.unitedactionforyouth.org/FOF for Festival of Flowers. And it has all of our events. We're doing some potting workshops. We did a cake decorating workshop. We're doing like a little craft workshop. And so, as well as some other fundraising events. And if you donate, you get some cool swag, some wildflowers, and some UAY gear. So
I saw your photos of your cake decorating event. What has it already happened, or will there be more, or how does that work?
yeah. So the cake decorating already happened. That was last Saturday. That was our first one, or kickoff. And then the next workshop is this Saturday. And I'm not entirely sure what that workshop is.
Well, you should go check out their cake photos because gorgeous, gorgeous cakes, gorgeous photographs, very cool event. And then they can find out what the Saturday one is if you don't have it at your fingertip. But we will post those in the comments after this is over. I was getting a weird echo and couldn't figure out a way to mute myself. So on Facebook. So if you have any questions or comments for Talia, we'll make sure those get responded to. Go ahead and put them in the comments, but I can't have my Facebook open without weird echoey background noise today. So you just never know what technology is going to bring. So what else would you like to share?
I would share one thing that I have found, and for parents to consider, is the power of validation. I think Well-meaning adults don't want our young people to feel bad or sad. And so if a kid comes to us and says, hey, I'm feeling sad about X, Y, or Z, I feel like I failed at this thing, our good intentions lead us to say, oh, but you shouldn't feel sad because you're smart and you're funny and you have friends and you're good at all these other things. And what that does is tells your young person that you're not comfortable holding their emotions. And so if they come to you and say they're sad or they're nervous or they're anxious about reentering society, not to problem solve and tell them all the reasons they shouldn't be or what they could do to feel better, but to just say, I get that. I see you and I'm really sorry. What can we do? How are you feeling? And I say this especially in terms of the milestones that our students have missed, maybe the first and last day of their first year in high school, right? Or a graduation or a prom or a dance. And that in their brains and developmentally, those things are the most important to our young people. To us as adults, we can go, that's sad that you missed it. And the safer option was really to stay at home with a mask on. However, that doesn't validate our young people's experience that they are missing out on major things they've been looking forward to forever. And so to just give them that space to live there and maybe even think about ways they could celebrate differently, or what you could do now that we're reopening to celebrate a milestone that they maybe missed. Those things are really important to young people and really define their lived experience in being high schoolers or middle schoolers or whatever. And so to just really remember what it was like when you were a young person and maybe faced missing something that was really important to you. As adults, we're like, oh, it's just another social event. But to young people, it really does define the landscape of their lives.
Absolutely. Gave me goosebumps. Yeah, I could, how many times have I heard about the preparation for different things, variety shows or concerts that didn't happen last year. I've heard about many of those events, and those, yeah, like you said, incredibly valuable to those kids. And we should just sit with them in that moment of, that stinks. That stinks. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would encourage, that social muscle, that school muscle that we talked about hasn't been flexed as much in the same way for a while. So to help kids, that executive functioning, right, that problem solving or making a list of things to do for a day, being responsible for your own schedule isn't quite there, that forward thinking. And so as young people are maybe fatigued by reentering or by going back to school, to really help them build in self-care, help them get offline, help them, I call them hack your happy chemicals, do things that get those natural dopamine and oxytocin dumps. Maybe that's a good meal or a long walk or some exercise or yoga or a smell they like, or a hug, or letting them have some socially distanced time with a friend, but just encouraging young people to tap into the fact that they might feel overwhelmed re-entering and help them learn how to take care of themselves in a healthy way, especially as we re-enter.
Absolutely. Very important. And it can take effort, yes, but well worth the effort of making those things happen. Like I said, whether it's a family meal or checking out the phone for a couple hours to go jump on your trampoline or whatever.
Yes, absolutely. Move those muscles, get out there and get physical, or yeah.
Good advice. Thank you, Talia, for your time today, and good luck with your Bloom event. And we'll post links to your website and anything else you want to share in the comments section.
Great.
And if there's some questions for you, I'll make sure you are aware of those. I can send them your way. So
Yeah,
sorry.
definitely. And if they pop up, let me know and I'll just log on and join the group and answer the questions that way.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks for your time. You too.